Welcome to the 90-day email campaign challenge. I want to introduce myself. My name is Nathan. I work with Rick Gray, and my job is to basically study AI and figure out how I can implement it into real estate businesses. So I am not a real estate agent myself. I'm working on different ways to be able to implement and automate ChatGPT and other open AI resources into your business. First thing I'd like to mention is we're going to do a lot more than just create a 90-day email campaign for sellers. What I want to do inside of this course is get you guys to understand the overall concept of ChatGPT, to build a foundation that you guys can understand where it pulls its data from, how to set parameters around the prompts that we're going to be building, and other things like using ChatGPT when it's connected to the internet and utilizing all of the new plugins that are coming out. So AI is exponentially growing, and my job is to stay on top of everything that's coming out on a daily basis. So I'm going to be filtering through as many of these as I can and providing you the best resources and the best applications to use and implement into your business. And I will be doing the training on these apps as well, so you can figure out how to use them. Specifically inside of this course though, we're going to be focusing on our prompts, how to use ChatGPT's resources like web browsing and plugins. And then we're going to dive into a couple of other different applications like Canva and MailChimp to make this email campaign look aesthetically pleasing while getting the point across and making sure that we have the right information to get people to open up our emails. So all in all, we're going to have a lot of content in the next 90 days or more. And I'm really excited to show you guys the opportunities. So let's get into the PDF and start the training. This is going to be the basics of AI and ChatGPT so you can understand it first. We are working with Eric Post over at Whoozy.ai to get a more custom interface going with his product, which is Whoozy. And it's going to be great for us because it's a lot like ChatGPT, except the parameters set around it are focused for salespeople and real estate agents, which here we are, right? So let's get into the basics of AI. Number one, if you want to register for an account, you have two options. There's ChatGPT 3.5 and then there's ChatGPT 4. ChatGPT 3.5 is great. It gets tasks done. It does not connect to the internet and you will not have access to the plugins. So if you want to follow along with the course material and utilize everything that I'm going to be talking about in there, I do suggest just paying that $20 a month for access to ChatGPT 4. You're going to get, like I said, new releases and updates, priority responses with all the traffic that ChatGPT has, and then faster response times. So you won't be sitting there waiting when the interface is overloaded with a bunch of users trying to get their questions answered. Let's hop over to ChatGPT really quick so I can show you guys how to create an account and log in, and then we'll go over these threads, how we should be using them, and then we'll be renaming them so we can stay a little more organized. And then when you guys do download this PDF, you can click this button and it will take you straight to ChatGPT. So the top, we have chat.openai.com, log in. So we'll click, I'm going to hit login, but you click sign up. It brings you the same interface. I always sign in with Google, so my passwords are saved. I don't ever forget anything. And then I just click on my account and it loads me into ChatGPT. So like I said before, we have ChatGPT 3.5. It's free, it works well, but it is not connected to the internet. So ChatGPT 4 browses with Bing, and then we have access to all of these plugins. So when we go down to the plugin store, it takes a second to load, but you'll have access to these plugins. And we'll talk about these later, but basically what they do is add parameters around the question you're asking. So if it's on a specific topic or subject, let's say you're trying to create prompts for ChatGPT to use and respond to, Prompt Perfect is great because it has a parameter around it that says, hey, ChatGPT, before you go look at the internet or use any of the data in your OpenAI database, I'm going to put these parameters around so you only search for prompt generation material and things that will help produce a better prompt for me to communicate with you. So over here on the left side, let me move my thing. I'm going to create a new chat here, and we'll use ChatGPT 4 and just the default version. So we aren't going to browse and we're not going to use any plugins. And we'll have a conversation with it. So, tell me how you interact with the data that you have access to. hit enter. And this is what it really looks like when you're inside of the interface. It generates a response, word by word. When you prompt me with a question, I generate responses based on the patterns of information and the data I was trained on. So it does have a database bank. And that is where we talk about setting these parameters around that database bank so it can be more focused on its answer that computes to you. Because if it has access to everything, sometimes they call it a hallucination. So ChatGPT will go into this hallucination where it's not understanding your question or it doesn't have enough time to pull all of this data in from its data set. And it gives you a response that just does not make sense at all. As a quick version to get you guys introduced into what ChatGPT is, it's important to know where the foundation starts, and that's with its database and the parameters that we need to set around our questions and our queries for it to understand accurately and give a response that is relatable to our question. And then over here, we can change what our thread is called. So this is ChatGPT data access. And then you just hit the check mark and it saves it as ChatGPT data access. So let's head back over to the presentation really quick. A thread can be found in that left column that I just showed you. Each one of those threads are a different communication with ChatGPT. What I like to do with those threads is use them for these specific repeatable tasks. Here are some use cases where we can use ChatGPT and stay organized within our threads. We're going to move on to prompt structure now. We're going to simulate a persona. So you are an expert real estate agent or you are a financial advisor who knows everything about the buying process, the selling process, the stock market, the e-commerce market, whatever it is. You're telling ChatGPT its persona so it understands its structure and where to go find the data. Next, you're going to be giving it a task. So you're creating a buyer's guide for initial consultants with clients. Now ChatGPT knows that it is a professional or an expert real estate agent, all about the buying process. And it's going to use this knowledge base to create a buyer's guide for initial consultations with clients. This is going to give you a much higher, more precise output rather than saying, write me a buyer's guide for initial consultants with clients. That doesn't have enough parameters. That's going to be an inaccurate response and something that you're probably not looking for. So let's go even further. Context and constraints. The copy must be engaging and use a personality trait of a teacher. So you can say the copy must be inviting or welcoming and use the personality trait of a teacher or an advisor or a CEO. Whatever you want to put inside of these brackets, you can. Clarify. You can use blank, which is insert example text, but do not replicate it. So whether you want to write this example text or you want to pull it from a PDF or a website where people have already done a buyer's guide for an initial consult, you can do that as well. But you want to make sure ChatGPT knows that it's like, okay, I'm not going to just reword this PDF. I'm going to make it my own, and then you're going to go in and revise it. So here's just the example of the full prompt. I would recommend you guys to go in, if you want to pause this right now and go try typing in, write me a buyer's guide for a consult and hit enter, see what its response is, and then copy and paste this paragraph or this prompt in there and see what the response is. And you'll start to understand and tell the difference between the inaccuracies of a bad prompt versus the accuracy of a really good prompt. I don't want to move too fast here, but if you guys are going to try using ChatGPT with a basic prompt, a intermediate prompt that gets a better point across, we might as well dive into an advanced prompt structure so you guys can try that one out as well. Putting these things in your head are going to give you a little bit better of a basis to understand and start reworking your prompts to actually make them very, very, very high producing. This advanced prompt structure was actually given to me by ChatGPT about a month and a half ago. So I'm sure it would output something else, but I made a prompt for it to tell me what it wants in a prompt. And 1 through 6, this is what it said. Number 1, clarity and be specific. Number 2, use complete sentences. We'll get back to this. It's very important. Number 3, include context when necessary. 4, ask one question at a time. 5, limit the use of pronouns. 6, specify the format of your desired response. So going back to number 2, use complete sentences. You want to formulate your prompt using complete sentence structure and proper grammar. We want to make sure that ChatGPT is understanding the precise detail of what we're asking. So in the last slide, we said you're a real estate expert working in the Portland, Oregon housing market. This is giving it parameters. We're going to refer to these as parameters. You're creating a buyer's guide for new relocation clients moving to Portland from other areas of the United States. You need to come up with an outline for your relocation buyer's guide. You will list the outline in bullet point format. Where would you start and how would you structure the buyer's guide? What key points would you focus on and why would they be important to someone buying a house and relocating to the Portland, Oregon area? We asked a few questions here, but the importance is that these few questions were all around the context of this buyer's guide. The main question was, you're creating a buyer's guide. I need you to focus on that. And here is some context questions to help you take my query and then go search in specific areas inside of your data set to understand where to pull information from and how to build this buyer's guide. And then, like I said, we don't want to use those pronouns. We want to be specific. So we want ChatGPT to not have to think about what you're referring to. We want it to know what you're referring to. All right, next we're going to talk about ChatGPT's memory. This one is a little tricky to understand because, like every other industry in the world, whether it's computer science or doctors, they like to make their own language. So the barrier to entry is very hard to understand, I guess. You're not going to be able to understand how to be a doctor if you don't know all of the different terms that they use for words that we already have. So anyway, ChatGPT's memory is not infinite. It has a certain amount of characters that it can use. So in these threads, it's going to be pulling around 4,000 tokens. 4,000 tokens is just under 4,000 words, but they call them tokens. And they're pieces of information that it can find and correlate with to any new question you answer inside of that thread. Okay, so for example, to get you guys to understand this a little bit better, I'm going to say, tell me how you interact with the data you have access to. So it gives me this, right? I asked a simple question. Now all I'm going to do is, please condense this into 7 sentences and write it so a 8-year-old could understand it. So this is a perfect example because now I didn't have to repeat myself about, hey, you need to tell me how you access your data. It has the context. It has the tokens, which is basically all of this stuff up here that it can relate to based off of please context this. And all it needs to know is that this is referring to the one thing that we talked about. And now it has 7 bullet points, 7 sentences, and it tells you like an 8-year-old. So it's like, I'm a big talking book that can't remember or save anything you tell me. But that's the gist of it is inside of each thread, it will have these parameters set so you don't have to keep repeating yourself to get an answer for the same prompt that you already asked it to create. All right, so back to this PDF. The 4,000 tokens is what ChatGPT 4 has right now. Now, of this month, I believe it was June 28th, ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo, which was the other option that we could choose to use, it's the free version, is going to have 16,000 tokens, which is 4 times the amount of information that it can pull from a thread and then guide the answer to the conversation that you're having with it from that information above. That's awesome. I don't think it's enough yet, but when we start getting to 100,000 tokens or 100,000, a little less than 100,000 words, that's where big movements are going to be made, because we don't have to tell ChatGPT, hey, do you remember what I said? This answer is missing this key piece of the prompt I initially gave you. It's not perfect, guys. So you just want to make sure you have your patience with it. And if it is missing something in the prompt, you just need to remind it to say, hey, you forgot this piece in the original prompt. Will you please include it in your next response? Next up is how to prompt ChatGPT. It's easiest to allow ChatGPT to rewrite your prompt for you so it can optimize its output. Now, this is an old prompt that I created with ChatGPT before we had plugins, before we had that prompt perfect plugin. So if we go back to ChatGPT, I'll show you an example of this really quick. We're going to create a new thread and we're going to go ChatGPT 4 and we're going to go to plugins. So in the beginning of the video, I showed you guys where you can download plugins. You just enable the plugins and go to the plugin store. I already have this one downloaded, so I am going to go to Prompt Perfect. You can see this is an old version. That shield means that it's discontinued, but they came out with a new version. So I'm going to say, can you rewrite this prompt using Prompt Perfect to make sure ChatGPT understands and utilizes it to its full potential, period. And then I'm going to go back to my graph here really quick. We are going to copy and paste this over into ChatGPT. If you hit Shift Enter, you can separate it so you can stay a little more organized and understand where you're going with things. And then you just hit Enter. So basically what's happening now is if you click this down arrow, you can see request to prompt perfect. This is computer science stuff. But what it's doing is taking the text from my prompt, communicating with Prompt Perfect, which is an external source that uses an API key to understand this information. And then what it's going to do after it's done transferring my original prompt to it is it's going to output a prompt right here that makes this optimized for ChatGPT to create me a new prompt, which I will use in a new thread for whatever question I'm asking ChatGPT. Okay, so I'm actually glad that it did this. It says that I apologize for the inconvenience. So let's go see what happened inside of this code that made this an inconvenience for Prompt Perfect to not be able to recreate my prompt for me. So response from Prompt Perfect, you'll see in this box, it says error, this model's maximum context length is 4,097 tokens. However, we requested 4,161 tokens. So we're over the limit for what this plugin could handle. Even so, ChatGPT said, I can manually attempt to rephrase it for you. Here's my attempt. So here's my rephrased prompt. I don't know if it's better or worse, but you get the idea of using these plugins and then seeing how parameters around these plugins can either be really useful or how you have to edit your original prompt to make it really useful. So an example that I want to give you guys is for social media. It's going to be a new thread output. We're going to use this prompt to create a social media plan, or give us ideas at least for what our social media plan should be. We want to be in ChatGPT 4 and we want to go just default. Okay, so the prompt says, as a social media specialist for a real estate expert in Boise, Idaho, you are tasked with creating a social media plan for the month of June. Your goal is to post twice a week with content that is relevant to the peak season of real estate. What type of content would be most effective for engaging potential buyers and sellers? Consider topics such as current state of the real estate market in Boise, local tax incentives for first-time home buyers, and any unique features of the Boise community that makes it an attractive place to live. Please provide specific examples and suggestions for each post to ensure maximum engagement. So it breaks it down weekly. So week 1, post 1, Tuesday, June 6th, real estate market snapshot. This is pretty basic stuff, but it's going to say, publish a brief data-driven snapshot of the market and send it out to your clients. And then it goes on to week 2 and week 3. It's breaking us up into topics. So we have featured listings, we have testimonials. This is all stuff we'll be covering in this 90-day email campaign. But for example, I just want to go through this so when we go to the next steps of this PDF, you understand it and know what we are getting at. So what we want to do next is choose a topic to focus on. So we're going to go to the next slide here and look at what topics that we can create content around. So if we do infographics or videos or lifestyle, we can have ChatGPT in the same thread expand on what we want it to produce for us. So now I'm going to go with this prompt for focusing on video for my social media marketing plan. You're creating a 30-second long social media marketing video for Instagram and YouTube Shorts. Come up with 3 topics for videos I can create for my social media account. Keep the videos 30 seconds long and write a script for me to follow. I will need the script to be in a time code format, and you need to suggest images or videos that I can overlay on my video. So instead of us having to use our brains and think about content that we should make, we're just going to see what ChatGPT has for us in this script. And then maybe if it's good enough, we can break it down and use it to create our video with. So perfect, 0 to 3 seconds. It's a clip of downtown Boise with a couple of stats popping up. I don't know, housing prices are up or whatnot, but the narration is, hey there, let's dive into a 30-second Boise real estate snapshot. And then at 4 to 10 seconds, we have an animated infographic. And then we have the narration saying the average home price in Boise is currently around this X amount of dollars. If you want to break this down further, you can. You can say, hey, I really like the idea of the home staging tips. Can you take that topic and break it down to 5 more videos I can post throughout the month of June and write the script and break it down into a time code format and place images and video and whatnot? So you don't have to do any work, really. You're just going to be recording yourself talking and then putting images and video overlays. And you can use CapCut or whatever. All this stuff that I'm talking about, CapCut videos, Google reviews, all that kind of stuff is inside of our Pit Stop community. So I guess if you find this tutorial and this 90-day email campaign challenge helpful to you and your business, consider signing up for the Pit Stop, because this is all I do. I research day in and day out of what new AI apps are being built for the world, and even more so specifically for real estate agents. So to wrap this all up, we're going to talk about prospecting strategies and what's the number one reason salespeople lose a client. Well, it's poor communication. So we're not going to ask ChatGPT how to improve our communication skills. Instead, we'll feed it a prompt that will provide out-of-the-box thinking. So prompt: as a real estate agent looking to expand your prospecting techniques in the age of AI, what are some innovative and effective ways to use AI for lead generation and client outreach? Please provide a step-by-step instructions on how to implement these strategies, including any necessary AI tools and platforms. Additionally, can you share any success stories or case studies of other real estate agents who have successfully used AI for prospecting? I'm going to copy and paste this and show you guys how this works when we're connected to the internet, and I hope it blows you away. So we're going to go new chat, ChatGPT 4, and then we're going to select the browse with Bing. Okay. And I'm going to paste this in here. And we're going to include this expert persona. Okay. So immediately it did not connect to the internet. If it does, which I'll show you in a second, we'll have a pop-up right here that says browsing the web. But we're going to make sure that it connects to the internet and give us some case studies like we asked in that initial prompt. You get prompts that are too complicated. Sometimes ChatGPT struggles with all the instructions. So I'm going to ask it, please find case studies of agents who were successful in using AI to increase their production in real estate. All right, now this is what we were looking for. So it says searching Bing, real estate AI success stories. And if we drop this down, we can literally see what it's doing click by click as it searches the web. So clicked on our story, estate AI, reading content, and now it's thinking. It's going to go back to the last page. I might click on a link or two more, but the idea is that it's actively going out to links on Bing and figuring out some case studies for us to use. And then when it's done thinking, it's going to populate its sources. So, just like when you were in school and you had to cite your sources, it's going to do that for us, and they're going to be linked to the source. So in a second here, we'll see it output its case studies. And then at the end of it, it'll say right here, number one, this is where it got that information from. So if we hover over the top of it, it says our story, Estate AI. So this platform has been used successfully by a number of real estate agents. One agent reported working with 4 sellers and expecting a further 3 to turn into a listing. So why don't we go to Estate AI and see what they're all about? So this is the website it pulled the data from and where it found its case studies. Literally, the link was case studies for real estate agents using their AI. Lady got 14 transactions. She got 2.5 million listing with a week and a half of running ads. I'd be very careful with the hype around what AI can do for you from the perspective of a service as a sale. So these ad technology resources, because it's very easy for them to manipulate people who don't understand what's going on with AI or that don't know how to use it, because all they have to put in front of somebody who's naive to the AI world is this person got 14 transactions. Well, that just might not be true. So if you follow along, I'm going to show you exactly how to use this for your own benefit. And then when you are ready to start spending money on marketing and whatnot, you'll know if what they're telling you is real or if it's a lie. Having the knowledge of how AI works and the ways that it can be used is really important. But as of right now, everybody is trying to make money off of people who don't understand AI. They want the instant gratification and they want that quick result, but it's just like NFTs. There was a bunch of hype around NFTs and people were making a lot of money, but a lot of people lost all of their money on NFTs. They're basically worth nothing now. So just beware of websites like this. Do your research and be diligent about it so you don't get, tricked into losing a couple grand or more than that. But anyway, look at all the sources it gave us, and we can click on any one of these and figure out where it came from and do our research and see what's the best and what's not going to work. But anyway, guys, I know this was a long introduction to ChatGPT. I hope you understand most of what I was talking about. And if you don't, I am here to answer all of your questions. You just leave them in that comment section below this video, and I will do my best to get everything answered to make sure that everything is very clear for you. Because the last thing I want is any of our members to get manipulated by any company that's just giving them the quick, easy fix, because life is not like that. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of this series. Videos come out on Fridays. And if I have enough time, I'm going to be doing more than one video a week. But I do ask that you guys are ambitious with what we're creating here, with what we're doing with the 90-day email campaign and the context that I'm going to be putting in around it. So you guys can not only have a final product of an email campaign, but you can understand what it took with AI to get there and how much faster and easier it was with AI to do the task rather than having an assistant you have to pay or doing it yourself and taking time away from your lead generation or your clients. The key here is automating the tasks that we can automate and focusing on the things that humans still have to do. So that's it. I will let you guys go on to the next lesson. And thank you for joining the 90-day email campaign.